What is good to my fellow artists? Today I'm going to be showing you how I create my underpaintings because this is something that is very important. It's very important to have a really good underpainting if you want to have a really nice finished photo. So it's very simple if you break it down, and this is going to be for the people who struggle with getting their proportions right, or who struggle with really like knowing what to look at in their photos, or if they really just don't know what to do for creating an underpainting, or if you never created an underpainting in your life. So actually, before we even start with the actual painting, the thing that you have to do is actually look at your photos. So when I'm picking out a photo that I want to paint, I look at certain aspects of the photo, and I need to see if there's, first of all, if there's good lighting, second of all, if there's good contrast, and also if there's good shadowing. So a way how you could also like transform the photos that you have, like if you want to paint a picture of like your mom, your dog, or I don't even know, whatever you guys want to paint, you could go into your settings app and increase the contrast and also the shadows in like the photo adjustment settings. That's going to make it way easier for what I'm going to show you right now. But if you already have some good shadows, just like these 3 photos that I have right here that I'm going to be demonstrating on, then you don't need to worry about that, okay? And I don't really like working with flat photos that don't really have that much depth in it, or they don't really have that much like colors. Everything is just like flat. I don't know how else to explain it. Everything is just flat. I don't like to work with photos like that. I like to work with photos that I can clearly see like the different tones, like 1 right here, 2, 3. I'm gonna get into all of that, so don't worry about it if you don't understand it right now. But actually, you're not going to be using your pencil at all too. So throw away your pencil. You don't need that, okay? I know that so much people, they like to go in with their pencil. They like to have their little traces, like create the eyes like this and that. But that's fine. Like, I'm not going to diss on you using your pencil, but I just think that there's a way more effective way that you can be creating photos, and is way faster if you don't use your pencil. So way how we're going to start off right now is you're going to get some paint right here. The oil paint that I'm using is burnt sienna, and I definitely recommend for you to use burnt sienna because first of all, it dries pretty quickly, and second of all, is really good for painting skin tones on top of it, because when you create an underpainting, that same color that you use for your underpainting, it can also show after you layer, okay? So if I use like black and then I try to layer some like, I don't know, white skin on top of that, I'm still gonna see that black line over top of that white paint that I put over it. But if you use burnt sienna, it's gonna blend very nicely. And this is the color that many people use for their underpainting. Some people might use like a magenta, or like I don't know what else. People might use like a yellow ochre, and that's fine. But I think that the burnt sienna is the best way to go. So don't use any of the other ones. Just follow my method that I'm using right now. Use this burnt sienna. And also, while you're at it, hit that subscribe button. Come on, hit that subscribe button for your boy. And also, while you're down there, check out that free 7-step guide on how to paint portraits perfectly every single time. It's in the description. Just follow all those steps over there, and I'm telling you right now, you're gonna create a nice portrait. All right, so with that burnt sienna, you're gonna grab something right here. It's called Gamsol. So with Gamsol, you're gonna take a little bit of it. Gamsol is just paint thinner. You're gonna grab it with your brush, and you're gonna put it onto your palette right here. All right, and you're gonna get like a soupy consistency after you mix it in with your brush. And with this thinned out paint, it's just gonna make it so that the paint dries faster, and so that is a thinner layer that we can layer on top of later on. All right, so now that you have all of those materials laid out, you should be ready to start painting. So now we actually have to look at the photos. So I'm gonna start off with this one right here in the middle, because I created this one. I have the photo on the wall right now, the finished one. Actually, let me bring it down to show you guys, just so you know I'm not lying. Here, I have this photo right here. This is the one that I made. All right, and this is the one that I used the same process on, okay? So first things first, you're gonna look at just a very rough outline. Just like squint your eyes, look at like the details that like just really stand out the most, okay? So what I see is just these lines over here, like her eyebrows, her eyes, the other eye right here. You're gonna see those trace of the forehead, and you're gonna see like the trace of the lips too, okay? So you might be wondering, okay, where do I start? Because this is a lot, okay? So where I always like to start is the forehead. The forehead is very easy area to start, and then you eventually move on to the other areas of the face after that. Okay, so with the forehead right here, you're just gonna match that little shape of the lines right here. So you're gonna create like a nice little squiggly line. Imagine that what I'm making right here is your canvas that you're painting on. Now with that burnt sienna, you're gonna create that nice little trace, that squiggly line of the forehead. And then you should be like an area like this. Like this is a very easy thing for you to paint. All right, and then now from here, I want you to look at where the shadows and the lights will be. So you see the separation between the lights and the shadows right here. You're gonna trace that out as well. And this is very effective because you're gonna get better proportions when you trace out where all the shadows and where the highlights are. So this is exactly what I do, and this is what I do with every single picture that I make. So I see that the light transitions into the dark again over here. So you have like a little circle shape right here, and then you move on to your lighter colors in the center right here. So you can even think of this like in a sense of numbers. So 1 will be your darkest, and then 2 will be your midtones, 3 will be your lightest tones. And then from the forehead, you see that after the forehead is finished, it's very easy for you to move on to other areas, such as like the eyebrows. And so you just create that nice trace right there. All right, and then you also have like a little 3 area right here. Just create that line right there. And then this area right here, right where the eyebrow is meeting the eye, that is a 1. You see, you just trace out where all these dark areas are. So you would fill that out with your dark color. All right, but we're not putting the paint inside of these colors yet. We're not putting the paint inside of these areas just yet. That's going to be for later on. But first of all, we just need to trace out every single thing. You need to trace out where the lights are, where the medium tones are, where the darks are. Okay, so from here, after you get that area of underneath the eyebrow is, then it's very easy for you to move onto your eyes. Okay, and you see how easy this makes it, because if you try to create like a random photo just like right here, you're gonna create your eyes. You're gonna be like, okay, I'm gonna create my eyes like this, and then you're here and like, oh shoot, I need to create the forehead. Okay, so now let me create the forehead. Oh, I forgot the nose. Now I need to go in with the nose. You see that? Oh, now the proportions are off, and then now the face is looking like it's sad. Okay, so but when you trace out where all of these shadows are, you put yourself in a way better place, because it's just moving from one step to the next one, and then you move on to the next one, and then the next one. Okay, and that is exactly what I do all the way until I get to the bottom of the face right here, where it's just very easy for me to trace out where the lips are and where these shadows on her chin are, you see right here. Okay, and also with the ears, a way how to make sure that everything is even is that you trace out where these ears are. You see where the nose is relative to the ears. So you see that the end of the ears right here is right here. And the nose is just a little bit higher. So when I'm creating the nose on my blank canvas, I'm just gonna create like a line that's a little bit higher up than where this area of the ear is. So I create like a squiggly line. I just create 2 lines right here that are bordering like the edge of her nostrils, and I create like a upside down 3 right here, just to map where the bottom of the nose is. So going back to this painting right here, see that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm tracing out where all these shadows are, where these lights are, and all of this. So I've learned this just from consistent practice, consistent repetition, and just trial and error, because I used to be a pencil user, but now I'm not a pencil user anymore. I'm not a pencil user anymore, and this is because my teacher taught me this method, and it makes it so much easier. I'm telling you right now, it makes it so much easier. It makes painting so much faster. I paint paintings in like hour 30 minutes now, and this one right here, it took me like 2 hours to finish. And that's something that actually it used to take me 2 hours just to create the trace. So imagine that you take out that huge block of time that you had before, this huge block of time. Oh, okay, now I have to use this time for my painting, I have to use this one for my tracing, I have to use this one for my shadowing. Now, all right, now imagine you take out that whole tracing part, and now you just start straight off with your painting process. Okay, this is supposed to be a paintbrush, but yeah, now you took out all of that time and you just go in directly with the paintbrush. So now your painting process is way faster. So continue on. That's exactly what I'll do right here. And I'm just going to continue that for all of these little areas, like underneath her eye. You see I put the lights where her forehead is, and I also create a nice trace of the hair. And yeah, from here we're pretty much done with that photo. But I want to show you another example right here with something that's a little bit more sophisticated, like this face. So exactly where I'll start in the same exact spot as I would for any other photo, which is the forehead, and then I move down from up. Okay, so the forehead, I like to start off with the hairline, so I create like a nice little line right here. Let me actually put this on the side right here so you can see me do it on a blank canvas. So I create like a line of the forehead, okay, and then I create a nice trace of like the shape of his head. You see that as sort of like a slope down from here, and then I create another slope on this line right here, and I see that there's a light reflection on the right side of his face. So I'm gonna create that same light reflection. It doesn't need to be perfect. You can do like geometric shapes if that helps you out, because we're gonna go in on a later stage for the detailing. So you shouldn't be very worried about that. All right, and I see that there's also another color light that's different on the left side of his face. So I'm gonna also map that out right here. Okay, and then now we have to go into the eyes. You see that the forehead has a nice transition into the eyes, and these shadows pop out a lot. So you're gonna create those same lines right here for the eyes from the forehead. I almost said forehead, but we're not doing that right now. And you just look at it like in nice little shapes right here. Now, the one that I'm doing right here, just creating that nice little line right here, just like this. And sorry guys, whenever I start painting, I just get carried away. That's why I can't create a video whenever I'm actually creating the underpainting, because I'll be listening to music. I get into that flow state, so I'll just be quiet for the whole time. But I want to commentate and tell you guys exactly what I'm doing, so you know what's going on through my head. And then from here, you see that these eyes actually have a nice transition into the nose. So the nose right here, gonna move onto that, and it has like a little bump right here for the nostril. Okay, and then you create like a nice little curve just for the bottom of his nose. That's not gonna be perfect, but I just like did that a little bit. Okay, and then from here you're gonna create the other nostril right here, and then you also want to map out where the underbags are for his eyes. So you're just gonna continue that all the way to the bottom. You can understand, and then you create like this trace of like where the cheeks are, and then you eventually move on to the hair, and then you do all of that all around. Okay, so you might have been just doing the very broad strokes before, like you'd say, okay, like let me put the eyes down, then let me put the nose, let me put the lips, and then oh, like everything's out of whack. I don't really know why my proportions are off, but when you look at it in different layers, like you look at it like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like okay, light, medium, brightest, white, then you're gonna be in a way better place with your proportions, and it's gonna make looking at photos way easier than how it was before. And now just to finish off, I want to show it on this example right here, because it's also a nice photo based on the technique that I'm showing you right here. So you're going to create that nice little trace of where the shadows are, the darkest ones, and then you move on to here. You see that here's like a little mid-tone before you get into the lighter tones right here, and you have like a nice little light reflection on the middle of his forehead, another light reflection right here, and then you move on to another shadow right here, and then you move onto like the nose and all of that. So that is the exact process that I use when I'm creating underpaintings, and that's how you get to stage like this. And then you eventually go on to my 7-step guide on how to paint portraits. get to finished product like this. So now you can go out there, paint your dog, paint your girlfriend, paint your wife, paint anybody you want. Anybody in this world you can paint. I'm gonna turn you into a human printer. That is my exact goal. I want you to become like a little machine that's able to paint anything that comes to their mind. Like imagine how that feels. It just feels so good. I literally have my photos like everywhere, and it just feels so good just having this ability, just able to unplug myself and just really immerse myself into my work. Like I really love to do it. I can't even explain. But again, I want to invite you all to that 7-step guide on how to paint portraits in the description, where you're also going to join my emailing list. And also when you join my emailing list, you're gonna get access to working with me. So I'm gonna be launching a coaching for portrait painting, and it's gonna be helping you out for all these struggles that you have. If you're stuck on like a certain process, or if you just need like guidance in general, I think that having personalized coaching for you is going to be very effective, because everybody's on different levels, and it's hard to really create one thing that just fits every single person. So that's why I'm launching that, and you're going to get early access to it if you join the email list in the description. And you're also going to get free more free value from that emailing list, such as like which best materials to buy, like different techniques that are learned, and just more things that I like to use whenever I'm painting. So again, check that out. And if you want to learn what mistakes that you should avoid as a beginner if you're portrait painting, click the video on the screen right now, and I'll see you all over there.